July of 2011, and a few months later, Occupy Wall Street breaks out. And it's all over the news. And I had a lot of sympathy with them at first. I mean, hundreds of millions of people had lost their jobs around the world. All kinds of disasters were happening because of the recklessness and even criminality of some people in the financial sector. So I had a lot of sympathy for that. And then I was teaching a business ethics course. And we'd go through case after case of businesses doing all these terrible things and pressing their employees to do all these terrible things. And most of them were legal. So, I'm immersed in all of this negative stuff about business. And I see that there's some truth to story one. But at the same time, everyone around me in the business school is talking about creating value, creating value. It's all about creating value. And at first, business has a lot of buzzwords. And I'm, creating value. So, I sort of write it off as, But then, as I start reading about the history of capitalism, and I start reading Adam Smith, and then I see this graph. And this just changed me forever. This is the most amazing graph I have ever seen. So let me explain this to you. This is a graph of GDP per capita, in constant $1990, graphing it out from the year 1 on the far left all the way through 1950 by the different regions of the world. So what you see here is that everybody in the world was living on about $400 a year. That's a little over $1 a day. Just about everybody is living at starvation wages, level of starvation, for thousands of years. And you can see Western Europe bumps up just a little bit after 1500 because you get mercantile capitalism. You're moving stuff around, so Europe gets a little wealthier. But it's not until you get the Industrial Revolution, it's not until you get industrial capitalism, which makes stuff, huge amounts of stuff cheaply, not until then that you get things really taking off. The West skyrockets, especially America. And if that transition, if that transformation, in just 150 years doesn't blow you away, look what happens in the next 50 years. Okay? And that data only goes up to the year 2000. Since 2000, the West has slowed down. It's still growing, but it's slowed down, whereas the rest of the world's catching up. So when you really see this, when you appreciate this, when you see what happens, you realize that creating value isn't just a buzzword. It's actually a moral imperative. Because when you get this process going in previously poor countries, this is what happens to poverty. So in 1820, it's estimated that about 95% of the people on this planet were living on around $1.25 a day at current value. And by 2010, it's down to 21%. And it's still dropping rapidly. Can you imagine that? Poverty has gone from being the state of almost everybody to being, it will soon be the state of very few people. This is arguably the most important event in human history. But because it was spread out over 200 years, a lot of people seem to have missed it. So let's take, for example, this fellow. He is a famous actor and economist, Russell Brand. And he recently wrote this book in which he argues that our system, capitalism, is designed to behave like this. It generated wealth for the wealthy and further impoverishes those with nothing. Asking it to behave differently is like asking a microwave to wash your car. But this is just completely wrong. I think there's really no alternative but to starting with a liberation story. But you can't stop there because every story